is EdTech, the monthly look at the education and higher ed space in the AV industry. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. With us this week, consultant extraordinaire and brand spanking new 40 under 40 member, Mr. Mike Tomei. How are you, sir?
Good, Tim. Glad to be here and really glad to be on that list. It was nice.
Congratulations.
Nice to see that.
I will say that you are also the only person on this very panel, unless Mr. O'Donnell joins us, who is eligible for said 40 under 40 list.
You didn't have to admit to that.
Yes, I did. It was, never mind. Also with us is my Southern California buddy and pal, Mr. Greg Brown from UCLA. How are you, sir?
Hello, Tim. Hello, guys. Hello, world. Just fine, aside from the fact it's actually raining out here today.
I learned an interesting term, a meteorological term from Southern California a few months ago called June gloom.
Yes.
It is a period of about 48 hours in June when the weather is bad in Southern California.
No, it's often extended into what's called May gray.
But that goes back to, never mind.
It's the disadvantage of living so close to the ocean like we all do here.
I have all right, guy just south of me in Little Rock, Arkansas, Ernie Bailey, UAMS. We don't have June gloom, do we, Ernie?
Oh no, we do not. We have the summer burn, but
yeah, hot and humid.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here again.
Good. And last but not least, Mr. Bill O'Donnell. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Tim.
You were also the only person. You were also on the 40 under 40, and you and Mr. Tomei are the only two people who are eligible on this very call.
Ta-da!
So, congratulations.
Yep. Let's see here.
Alrighty. First and foremost, up. What we have is a conversation that we had a little bit, actually the week it happened. We had Chris on from Extron. Extron has acquired presentation capture software engineering firm Entwine AG, quote unquote. Extron Electronics today announced that it has purchased Entwine AG of Zurich, Switzerland. So there will probably be a Extron office in Switzerland sometime soon, which would not be a bad place to go to training. A leader in software development using proven source technologies, Entwine specializes in building end-to-end video capture and presentation capture solutions using OpenCast, Matterhorn, HTML5, and WebRTC. Mr. Tomei, where is Extron heading with this purchase?
I'm not quite sure. It was interesting to see for sure, but I don't really. No, I'm surprised they're jumping into this market like this. There's some really established companies out there in the lecture capture world. I do like their lecture capture recorder that they have on the hardware end of things. But I was kind of surprised to see them make this purchase and go so far as to Switzerland to make the purchase too. I feel like there's some real established companies, so I'm really curious to see what they're looking to do here. I don't really know. Yeah.
All right, Mr. O'Donnell, from your standpoint, what do you think Extron is heading down the path with this?
Well, if anything, I think it's one of those things where they're tying it into their S&P 351. I know just recently they actually upped the storage space on it, and I think for them this is more of them trying to update, trying to get more into the software end of it. They are, like I said, the 351 is a hardware box that it just. You come in, you plug in your USB, you hit record, and you go with it. So I think this is them kind of shoring things up, and it might be something in which they can kind of link to either, say, Canvas or even Blackboard. Here we use Blackboard. I know Canvas has been growing by leaps and bounds here and there, so it might be one of those things where they're trying to integrate it with the collegiate collaboration software. So.
You just said collegial. Is that a new word?
Yes, it's right in there with strategery.
Welcome to the collegial episode of Aviation.
That's right.
We named it 30 seconds in. Greg, this sounds an awful lot like a couple of different products out there.
Does it sound collegial?
It sounds collegial, yes. And colloquial. Dear Lord. It sounds like a few more products out there. How will Extron kind of differentiate themselves there?
I think the way they're going to differentiate themselves is by outdoing a lot of those folks. I agree with what Mike said, that there are a lot of there are a lot of players in this field, but there are a lot of real bad players in this field. There are a lot of there we go. I'll get my lower third figured out eventually. Nothing like live TV, huh? For so long we had these companies that would sell you a box and then charge you $10,000 a year to use it, basically. And they have their fans and their users, certainly, but I think what Extron and Crestron have tapped into are there's some other companies making these boxes. These, you buy them and they just run for you boxes. Like the 351, and we actually just did a shootout here between the 351 and the Crestron box. And I think that the Crestron box may have some advantages if you are doing the full-on, completely Crestron integrated system, but for sheer plug it in, use it, simple operability, the 351 really blew them away. And so even though we're moving towards Crestron as far as control, we're rolling out 351s as far as boxes, because that's Extron's forte, is taking some technology and making it real simple and straightforward, sometimes not as technically capable as some of the other folks out there. And I think it's a huge untapped market. All these people that aren't doing this because they haven't been able to, that $10,000 a year licensing fee was just not inside their cost model. So I think some of those companies are going to get their lunch eaten here over the next couple of years, to be honest.
Well, and some of that market, and Greg, you mentioned this. I've learned this, over the years. Especially when I got away from education and more on the service and side and where I'm servicing you guys, there are different pots of money, right? And when I was a tech manager, my market and my accounting staff tried to explain this to me, and for whatever reason I was too dumb to understand it. But there's capital expenditures and there's operational expenditures, and those software agreements, a lot of times they look at those like operating expenditures. That's OpEx, right? And they don't want to tie up $10,000 to $15,000 a year in OpEx. They'll spend $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 in capital expenditures where you buy it once, and then yes, every few years you have to refresh them, but then it's not an every year software renewal licenses. So,
and any sort of upkeep is kind of a bit of a minefield in higher ed. You got to know what you're doing. I mean, it's not just with the AV. I mean, look at the trouble we've had with digital signage. So much digital signage is just not thought out. My personal best here on campus is 3.5 year outdated content running on a digital sign. But we had a series of decorative light fixtures in an auditorium that fortunately they weren't maybe but about 40% of the light in the room, but they were burnt out for 10 years because you had to close the auditorium and put up scaffolding to get up to them to disassemble them and relamp them. So if you're not thinking down the road, you're in kind of dangerous territory in higher ed.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Bailey, you've got the last word on this one. Where is Extron heading with this, and how will they make themselves different?
As we've already been talking, yes, it's kind of a plug and forget box. It could run standalone. You don't have to pay the annual fee. But what I would like to see, whether it's Extron or maybe a third party, is someone to work on the back end of it, to get it into our learning management systems like Blackboard or Canvas or whatever, in a way that doesn't require a full-time person doing nothing but that. And that's where we are with a lot of these standalone systems, is that we have to have someone there to configure it and to upload it and to do whatever meta tags or anything like that we need to put on it, and get it in the format. We we've been looking for a good lecture capture system on our campus for years, and we haven't found one that does what our students are asking to do. We can get a subset from different groups, but getting one that allows them to download to their device. Some of them will download, some of them won't. Multi-speed playback or anything like that. We don't need more hardware, and I'm glad that if Extron is getting into the market, they bought something that's already there as opposed to adding another one to the list. But we need back-end support for these standalone systems, or for that matter, for the ones that we pay $10,000 a year to get the service. We still, we don't get all that we're after.
So Ernie, go ahead.
Ernie, I was just going to say, as far as finding the right LMS, you just need to do what we do here at UCLA. We have an official campus decided upon LMS, and they don't hold the departments to using that LMS. So many departments use a different LMS, and the departments don't hold, in many cases, the instructors to using a particular LMS. So some of them use different LMSs, and everybody's happy. We don't tend to like to interfere with the intellectual vibrancy of 200 different departments all heading off in different directions and not talking to one another.
Well, we try to do that. Now, we do have 3 LMSs on our campus. We have the one that's used theoretically by all the academic programs. One of our colleges has one that's specifically designed for medical programs, and one that nobody else talks to. So the students really have to run.
Work goes on.
Yeah, but anyway, we do have a security officer, and he takes things very seriously. Once again, we're a health science campus, so HIPAA is a bigger concern to us than anything else. So if we're managing the patient records properly, the rest of the security kind of falls into place.
That makes sense, because HIPAA is a pretty robust set of standards.
So if we can make things HIPAA compliant, then pretty much the rest of the security is taken care of. And yes, we do get cyber attacks, but we're able to catch them and stop them most of the time before they've done any damage. We do occasionally have someone who gets one of those funky emails, gets the first one that makes it through on campus, and they really think that it came from IT, even though they don't use any of our names or anything like that, and they click on it, and it redirects their paycheck.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So they learn pretty quick, and it's never the lower paid people that do that.
Right.
It's the people that lose a 5-digit paycheck that click on those. So it gets your attention, but the stories get, the IT folks, the security people, let those stories get out on campus of what happened when someone clicked on it. They don't try to hide it. So the second and third person don't click.
Yeah, and that's also important. Greg, I want to hit you with this because you've said this on this show more than once. You guys have like 250.
I've said a lot of crazy things more than once.
That's true. That's true. But this is specifically about your multitude of IT departments. How does that happen? How do you guys have that conversation with these multitude of kind of fiefdoms of IT?
It's tough. I like the idea they were suggesting of having the responsibility for some things in some sort of centralized area. And because I've even seen different aspects of security here under different groups, security scans and stuff like that. And like I think I've mentioned here, they back when we had routable IP addresses, we're all on unroutable stuff now on our own VLANs, but you couldn't get in per se, but they once sent us a list of the various hits our addresses had taken over like a 24-hour period or something like that, and it was amazing how many of them went back to like Chinese and North Korean ISPs. Really sort of stuff that makes you sort of wonder. But you like with all these things, I was going to say you just have to approach people the right way with these things. We were joking about dealing with IT again, and we had a situation this summer where we discovered we needed a whole lot more IP addresses in a building that we're renovating this summer than we originally had. We originally had a VLAN set up for 2 or 3 devices in each room, and the model we're rolling out now uses 6 or 7 IP addresses in each room. Once you start putting document cameras online, and the lighting controller, and crazy stuff like that you didn't think about a few years ago. And so we just went to the IT folks and said, hey, we need a new VLAN that'll support 7 or 8 IP addresses per room, or as an alternative, we could just start putting managed routers inside our cabinets and handle it that way. And they came up with a new VLAN for us real quick.
Maybe.
Although we are doing our own managed switches inside of our cabinets at this point.
Yeah, I was going to say, when we went to our network engineering folks, yes, we have a VLAN set up in each building, and they're putting the managed switches in our AV racks and helping us, and they're managing them for us.
We just transitioned this summer to doing it in our shop here, doing ourselves.
Yeah.
Because we didn't like their delay, and they didn't want the extra work.
I can see that.
They volunteered to do it, and they're doing it in a very fast and efficient manner for us. In fact, I've got new switches throughout some of my education buildings that were not slated for another year or so, just to help them manage our AV switches.
Very nice.
Yeah, if I say any more, my connection will undoubtedly drop off.
Oh, it's getting very pixelated. There's lots of artifacts. What's going on?
Before that happens, Bill, how do you guys handle it?
So, funny enough, just recently we actually did have a little brute force attack because our students thought it was a cool idea because at one point we were installing some digital signage in our art department, of all places. And folks saw we still had the setup and everything, and unfortunately the company whose name I shall keep anonymous for now, during the test sequence and everything, it tells you what the MAC address is, what the IP address it pulls up, and everything else. And all the folks have to do is just go and go on the backside and hit the blue button, and all of a sudden, oh, that's all the information I need. Dink. And so our IT department suddenly got in and suddenly asked me, well, what are you doing to correct this? I'm going, were you looking at me? Well, they're like, you installed it. So,
Bill, what are you doing?
No, so actually what we ended up doing was it turns out the company actually had a wiki page, and so we were able to actually I was actually able to transfer some of the stuff over to our security folks who said, okay, we're going to set up SNMP monitoring for traps and everything. We're going to make you guys use HTTPS. We're disabling FTP. They're like, pretty much. I gave them a list of all the ports that are actually used by the device, and they said, "Okay, cool. We're going to shut down everything else, and you guys, as long as you're using secure protocols and everything, we should be okay." They also then went and changed it from the domain being where the students and everybody could get to it to where only faculty imaged PCs and faculty logins could get to it, which is really funny because for us. Our grad assistants are the ones who are loading this thing up, and they're in the fun little world of limbo. So it's one of those things that's like, well, just give it to Professor So and So, but he doesn't want to do it. I'm like, just give him the loaded file, and we'll work from there. It's just a degree of this is now just like hashing it out with security folks, but but like I said, Mike is dead on with that one in that you really have to have when you're going and doing your installs, the network folks will be more at ease if you tell them, okay, we need these ports. If you give us our own VLAN, we can kind of manage things a little bit better, and they've been good with us on that one. We have our own VLAN for our AV systems, our Crestron processors, and all that fun stuff, and as of just this past week, we made our own VLAN for our digital signage. So
very nice.
There you go.
So VLANs and talking to IT is incredibly important. So
Yes.
that's what we've learned on that.
We are on their domain.
We are on their domain. We are indeed. All right, guys. That is going to do it for this month. Mr. Bill O'Donnell, thank you, sir. How can people get a hold of you?
They can get a hold of me on Twitter at the original OD. That's the quickest way because I have my smartphone on hand at all times.
All right, very good. Ernie Bailey from UAMS. Thank you, sir.
Glad to participate.
And how can people get a hold of you?
You can find me on LinkedIn most of the time.
Most of the time. All right. Mr. Greg Brown, the owner of well over 3,000 LinkedIn connections.
No, it's only 876. I
thought you
looked
had
it up this
1,000. I
morning.
thought you would crack the 1,000 mark.
No, it's only 876. Thank you
All
very
right. Well, how can
much.
people?
I
get a
got
hold
somebody
of you?
else who shames me because she's got over 1,000, but that's usually the best. That seems to be where everybody finds me. Although I still write over at Infocom All Voices, and hope to have a few more coming out here in the next month or two over there.
Very cool. Also, Mr. Mike Tomei from Tomei AV Consulting. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
And how can people get a hold of you?
I'm on LinkedIn a lot, or my website is tomeav.com. That's TOMEIAV.com.
And he sends out a useful newsletter.
He does.
Yes, he does.
He does.
There you go. You go to my website, you can sign up for the monthly email newsletter. So, yeah,
And-
I'm glad
just
somebody's
got it
reading
all
it.
without subscribing for some reason, but
What's
you
that?
know.
Oh,
I subscribed you. Don't worry. I did it.
Oh,
for
you
you.
did it?
I
Okay.
did it for you. I signed you up for a couple others too, but don't.
Yeah, Tim subscribes people against their will.
Yeah.
right.
We have one. I just don't ever. Aviation has one. I just don't ever. I need to get somebody on that. I really do.
Not it.
No, yeah, I know, not it. Don't follow
Just do it
me.
in your free time, Tim.
Yes, midnight to 3 a.m. I'll start.
Yeah.
doing it.
Is that the 3 hours that you sleep?
That typically is, yes. Don't follow me, but go by the website, avnation.tv, avnation.tv. You can sign up for our newsletter or check out the other shows that we have besides EdTech. Just announced a couple days ago. Very excited about this. And just for the record, this was all Mr. Tucker and Mr. Danto's doing. They kind of collaborated together. David Danto is doing a show with us called Connected with David Danto. It's talking about all Internet of Things is what he's going to be conducting interviews and roundtables and stuff like that. So that's coming down the pipeline. Check that out if you would, please. A brand new lighting show, obviously this show, State of Control, and our weekly AV Week. Check that out if you would, please. avnation.tv, avnation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for watching. This has been EdTech.